welcome back to the 4th episode of Cults, Crimes, and Spirits. I'm Nina.
And I'm Andrea.
So today we're talking about the Waco siege.
Or the Waco massacre. But we'll actually get into where it really happened later on.
Yes. And before we get into all of that, we're going to talk about our weekend.
Our wild cabin getaway.
Yeah. We finally got to hang out in person for the first time since the holidays. And we hung out in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in a really nice cabin. This cabin was lit. It had a movie theater. It had an arcade room.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. That's where we spent most of our time.
We really did. Oh, and it had a hot tub.
Too cold. It was snowing Friday. I'm from Atlanta where it's hot. It was
Hot
80 degrees here
Atlanta.
today. Atlanta, what up, A? A-town down.
It was like 70 degrees. It was like 70 degrees here today.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
But yeah, it snowed Friday, so no, I was not getting in a hot tub and having. If it was on the back porch, maybe that I would do agree with your husband Drew about the fact that you had to walk. It sucked,
It did.
but you enjoyed it. And hey, I made a s'mores and you didn't, so it was good. But you know, it was even better.
What?
I kicked some, I kicked some leaves into the fire pit, and it created ambers. And one of the ambers like flew into Dakota's shorts, which Dakota is our cousin, and it burned like his inner thigh near his balls. And he was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh my gosh, I totally missed that.
You did. It was amazing. I wish I had that on film because you know I record everything. But
Yeah, Andrea has a whole I don't know, gallery full of videos on your phone. She's constantly recording. Like, if there's something you don't want on camera, assume that she's gonna get it on camera.
yeah, and then I'll send it to you later, and then you'll love it.
Yes.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
But we got to watch La Bamba.
Yes, it was great in the theater room.
We got to go to a really cool diner.
Yes, the Sunliner Diner. If you're ever in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area, check it out. It's like walking back in time, going into the 50s. I love it, love it, love it.
But yeah, it was nice to have some family time, and we got to take a little break away from the podcast and real life and work and being 6 hours apart.
Yeah, that was nice to not be 6 hours apart for one.
But I'm excited to start this week's episode about the Waco siege because it was pretty crazy.
All right. So, this is another crime that happened in the 90s, our beloved decade.
Yes, just not my year.
Yeah. This is the year after you were born.
Maybe I caused it. Uh-oh.
So, the Waco siege took place in 1993, but to get to know more about who the Branch Davidians and their leader were, we're going to go back to the 1930s. So, we're time traveling.
Holy shit.
What?
You went back really far. I didn't go that far back, so I'm about to learn a lot of shit.
Yeah, because you got to go back and you got to understand the whole picture, like how.
No, I was like, this is fucked up. This is so fucked up. So many different levels on both sides.
It really is. It's such a messed up story. So, and for so many different reasons, which we'll get into. So this guy named Victor Hutef, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's Hutef or Hutef. He was a Bulgarian immigrant and he was a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the Seventh-day that is such a tongue twister. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is an Adventist Protestant Christian domination. So if you're like me and you didn't really know like what all that meant, like I'd heard of them, but I didn't really know what they specifically believed in. I had to look it up, and basically, they're more old school, like Old Testament in the Bible, and they observe Saturday instead of Sunday as the Sabbath, and they're more strict about things like not doing drugs or alcohol. Some don't eat meat, and they strongly believe, this is like the big thing, they strongly believe that Jesus is coming back any minute, like his return is imminent. Victor claimed to be a prophet from God, and the leaders of the church were like, nah, this dude is not right. And basically, they kicked him out of the church, of the Seventh day Adventist church. Victor got kicked out of this church because, he was claiming to be a prophet. Somehow, he had some loyal followers and he decided to start the Davidians, not the Branch Davidians, the Davidians, which was intended to be a small Adventist, I cannot say that word, reform movement. The Davidians were named after David in the Bible, and Victor wanted to start preparing for what he believed to be the impending return of Jesus, like he wanted to prepare because, like you said, they felt like he was coming like any minute.
It's also cool that they got their name from David in the Bible because I was like, where did this come from? I didn't understand. Like the Davidians, what? That's so weird.
Mm-hmm. Victor felt like the Seventh day Adventists had deserted this important task. Like he felt like they weren't as focused, like they got distracted by other things and they weren't as focused on preparing for Jesus's return. So that's what he wanted to focus on. So Victor and his small little group of followers eventually settled a few miles from Waco, Texas, where they founded the Mount Carmel Center. This became a little community and it was flourishing. It was in just the first few years, there were like 100 people living there. And they had their own printing press and they would create pamphlets and stuff to send their message and teachings all over the world.
I thought that was really cool that they had their own printing press.
Yeah, they kind of had their just own little community. Like they were doing their thing. Kind of reminded me of like,
Doing the damn thing.
yeah, doing the damn. It kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, The Walking Dead, the governor and his little community. I don't know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anyways, Victor also apparently told his followers that he would not die. But at the age of 69, guess what? Victor ended up dying of heart
At
failure.
what age?
69, the ripe old age of 69.
Perfect number, 69.
Exactly.
Someone someone who said he'd never die.
Mm-hmm. And died at 69.
Ha
And
ha
he,
ha.
he is so messed up for laughing at this guy dying. Uh,
I'm just laughing at our rhymes. I
I'm laughing at 69 because I'm super immature.
mean, me too. Why do you think I asked you to say it again?
Oh, it wasn't because you didn't hear me.
No, I heard you perfectly fine. It didn't lag that time. Oh, there it goes.
Okay, so Victor ended up dying of heart failure. And now Victor's death came as a shock and stirred the pot within the Davidians, and shit started getting real. Instability ensued as the power struggle began, and Victor had apparently appointed his widow Florence to lead the Davidians until another prophet was chosen. But what I didn't understand about this is if you thought you were never going to die, why did you appoint anyone?
I think that Florence just said,
Probably because Victor was probably like, I'm not going to die. So why bother
yeah,
appointing someone?
I'm pretty sure Florence was like, people are not gonna not believe me. I'm his wife. They're gonna believe that he appointed me, even if he didn't.
Exactly. So I guess they like believed her to an extent because she ended up leading the Davidians and she started claiming she was like the new prophet. Like not just that she was like going to lead them till another prophet came along, but she was like, "Nah, now I'm the prophet."
Bitch, sit down. Be humble.
Right. So the Davidians ended up selling their property in 1957 and resettling on a 941-acre farm located about 10 miles east of Waco near a place called Elk, Texas. Now remember that because we're going to come back to that later.
Yep.
They renamed their new compound New Mount Carmel.
Yummy, yummy in my tummy.
You like
Makes me want,
caramel?
yeah, it makes me want like an ice cream with caramel drizzle or something.
I'm more of a mocha person.
I didn't say I didn't like mocha either.
On April 22nd, 1959, Florence had predicted the imminent establishment of God's kingdom would happen. Now, this is
Okay,
where,
bitch.
yeah, this is where Florence messed up. Over 900 people gathered to see this event take place. But guess what? Nothing Florence predicted came true, and she had to admit that she had made a mistake, and the Davidians were not happy and began looking for new leadership. And they found it in a guy named Benjamin Roden.
Yeah, because Florence has been a lying ass bitch this whole time since her fucking husband died at the age of 69.
Bringing the age up again. His
I forgot his name, but I remembered his fucking age.
name was Victor.
All right, Victor died at 69. Florence lied about everything after that, and then she fucked up, and then she got kicked out. Haha, bitch. Sit down. Be humble. Comes back full circle. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. So, Benjamin's group, I'm telling you, these people separate way too much. Well, which we'll get into, but Benjamin's group had set.
Nah, like I read over some of your notes the other day and I was like, what the fuck? Who is this and who's that? And then this split off and then that split off and they sold that and then they renamed this that and then they branched off and got this.
It is so much. It will give you whiplash reading through it. It's like, who,
Yeah.
what? It's so confusing. So confusing.
Anyway,
But Benjamin's group,
the third prophet now.
yeah, yeah. So, third prophet. Benjamin's group had separated from the Davidians, becoming the Branch Davidians, and they took control of the new Mount Carmel property, which at that point was only about 77 acres. The rest of the land was sold by Florence. So I don't know what
Trifling
she,
asshole.
yeah, I don't know what she did with it, but I guess she just didn't want them to get it. I don't know. So she sold it. So there was only about 77 acres of that 941 acre farm left when Benjamin took over. Benjamin, old Benny, led the Branch Davidians until his death in 1978.
Albany.
Old Benny, when his wife Lois took over leadership. So again, another wife stepping up here.
Another wife.
So the feminist movement was happening around this time, and Lois, Benjamin's widow, was very focused on more equality for women, and she even published a journal on women's place in religion. Lois faced competition for leadership by none other than her very own son, George Roden. Georgie boy thought he was the heir to the Branch Davidians because of his dad, but even his mom didn't support him.
Wow. If your mom don't support you, then you a loser. Just saying.
So Lois, who was like 67 at the time, began having an affair with this 28-year-old dude named Vernon Howe. And if you don't know,
Wow. That's gross. That's weird. 67 and 28. Come on.
reminds me of like Hugh Hefner,
Yeah, okay.
but
So much for
reverse.
being. I mean, I wonder how old Georgie boy is.
I don't know, but it's her son, so he's got to be probably like 30s,
30.
I
Yeah.
would say.
Weird.
If you don't know the name Vernon Howe, you will know who we're talking about because obviously he changes it later to the name that most people know, but we'll get into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yep,
So,
yep, yep. Yep, yep, yep.
so Vernon was married to a girl named Rachel because like he was having an affair with a 67-year-old lady. She was a widow. She was fair game to date somebody else, but he was married and he was married to a girl named Rachel. And I said girl, not woman, because when Vernon first joined the Branch Davidians, he met Rachel and fell in love with her, even though she was just 14 at the time. And he was like 25.
That's fucking weird.
Yes, it was very gross. So Vernon was well liked among the Davidians, and so when he asked Rachel's dad, "Hey, can I marry your daughter?" He was like, "Yep, sure. Here you go." Like, what the fuck?
I don't like
Yeah. So at the time, though, if you were 14 in Texas, you could legally marry if your parents signed off on it. Ugh.
it. I guess they did things different back then.
It wasn't even that long ago. Like we were alive. This is in our lifetime. I mean,
Oh, I thought
yeah.
we were still in the 30s, so we're back to the 90s.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, not the 90s. I guess we weren't technically alive when they got married, but we were like two when, you know.
Yeah. Shit hit the fan. Ew.
Mhm.
Okay. Vernon, you fucking creep.
Oh yeah, he gets creepier. Don't worry. So they got married, and Vernon left the Branch Davidians for a short time. Not sure why, but he soon returned, and that's when the whole affair with Lois began. But apparently, Lois was not Vernon's only side piece, you know? He was a bit of a whore, a hoe bag, a slut. Yep.
I'm surprised he didn't get some STD and his dick fall off.
Well, they probably should have. Oh, well, actually, he probably didn't get STDs because I feel like he was marrying virgins, like
Oh
11
yeah, true.
years old,
Yeah,
12 years old, 14 years old.
I
Yeah.
forgot. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it really
How could I
is.
forget?
Yeah. Vernon was a huge threat to old Georgia boy, and he wanted him gone, especially since in 1984, Lois, Georgia's mom, named not George, her own son, but Vernon, her successor.
What?
And in 1986, Lois died.
Good.
So the Branch Davidians were again divided. This is exhausting. So, anyways, you had people who wanted to follow George, and you had people who wanted to follow Vernon. And George started carrying a gun and kind of by force gained, I guess, semi control of the compound briefly. He even changed the name of the compound from New Mount Carmel to Rodenville after himself, which I thought was a bit
Ew.
conceited. Yes.
Even sounds gross.
It sounds like a rodent.
Yeah, like rat, bitch.
In late 1987, things went south for old Georgia boy, though, when he decided to challenge Vernon to a bit of a morbid contest to see who could raise the dead, because whoever could raise the dead must be the true prophet and would be the leader of the Branch Davidians.
Wow, what a weird game to play.
Right? It's pretty messed up. There was a cemetery on the compound property, and the person chosen to be resurrected was Anna Hughes. She had been dead for about 20 years at that point. 20 years dead, a long time. I mean, I think if you're what?
20 years dead, long time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like she was freshly dead, you know?
No, I know, but like that's also fucked up. You're trying to resurrect a body that's been in the ground for 20 years. Let them
Mm-hmm.
sleep.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Don't disturb it.
So George really believed he could raise the dead, and he began reciting scripture over Anna's body. And I think I read somewhere that it went on for days. But like Vernon, he knew he couldn't raise the dead because he knew he was bullshitting people. So Vernon was supposed to meet George at the cemetery, but of course he had no intention of showing up because he knew he couldn't do it. So he took off to the police and told them what George was doing. But it kind of backfired because the police told Vernon that they couldn't really do anything without actual proof that George had dug up the body. Like they needed a picture or a video. Too bad they didn't have smartphones.
Yeah, that would have helped a lot.
Yeah. Been like Andrea going around and recording everything. You would have done had it. You'd been like, okay, I filmed him digging up the body. I filmed
Oh,
filmed all this.
I would have had everything leading up to it, during and after. Even blooper reels.
And they wouldn't have even known because you film and people don't even know you're filming 90% of that.
I'm slick with it.
Mm-hmm. So obviously George failed to bring Anna back to life. And he was really embarrassed because his followers were watching this and now they're gonna lose faith in him being their leader. Meanwhile, Vernon shows back up to the compound with like 8 other men. Supposedly, according to them, they were trying to obtain proof. Like they were trying to take a picture or something to take back to the police to be like, hey, see, George, he did dig up a body. But George was tipped off that Vernon was coming and a full on gun battle ensues, like in the Wild West, I imagine. Guns
Bang,
ablazing.
bang.
Yeah. This lasted several minutes until the police came and arrested them all for attempted murder. Miraculously, no one died. Like in
What
this,
the
yeah,
fuck?
in this gunfire. So, like, apparently they're not very good at it. But
They were just shooting to shoot.
yeah,
You know how boys be.
yeah. And apparently, like Vernon's men, like said, "Oh no, we were just shooting into the air. Like we were just trying to scare them because we were just going there to get a picture." So Vernon's men all get acquitted, and Vernon also got lucky. His case was declared a mistrial, and George was apparently behind on paying the taxes for New Mount Carmel for the New Mount Carmel property. So Vernon and his followers moved back into the property and raised the funds to pay the taxes and kept right on trucking.
Keep on trucking.
As for what happened to George, well, it's kind of a sadder story. So he was super pissed at the judge after Vernon and the other man got off scot-free. So he cusses out the judge, and the judge finds him in contempt of court and has him arrested. And he ended up spending a short time in jail. And
That's
that's
pretty funny.
it is kind of funny. Um, so that's when, Vernon basically got control of the property and was able to like, okay, George is out of the picture, blah, blah, blah. 2 years later, in 1989, George killed a man in Odessa, Texas. Yeah, he claimed that the man was an assassin sent by Vernon to kill him. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it,
Georgie boy could
you
be
know.
anything he wants to be. He didn't give a shit apparently about nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Vernon,
He cussed the judge out. Like, come on.
I believe it because I feel like Vernon really wanted George out of the picture. He didn't want him coming back to the compound to try to take
Yeah.
control. So like I could kind of see him being paranoid of like an assassin, but not sure if this dude was actually an assassin. So George goes on trial and is found not guilty by reason of insanity and was sent to a state hospital. And get this, Vernon, Texas. What are the odds?
Vernon sent Georgie boy to assassinate a man, and Georgie boy gets sent to a state hospital in Vernon, Texas.
Wait, what did you just say?
Full circle.
I don't know what you said made any sense.
Georgie boy got sent to be an assassin by Vernon.
He wasn't an assassin. An assassin came to kill him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now I can understand why that doesn't make sense. I was confused. I thought Vernon told Georgie boy to go assassinate someone.
No, he thought the guy that he killed was an assassin sent by Vernon to kill him.
All right. I understand.
Okay. So we're now George, he's in a state hospital in Vernon, Texas, but he was later moved to a different
In
hospital.
like a crazy house, like the
Yeah,
mental hospital.
yep. But later on, he was moved out of Vernon, Texas to a different hospital located in Big Springs, Texas. Anyway, it gets crazier. So on September 30th, my birthday, I was two, exactly two when this happened.
I was about to say that's your fucking birthday.
Yeah. George, on September 30th, George walked right the fuck out of this mental hospital that he was in. And he went missing for like 4 days before he was captured and returned to the hospital. Then in late
What?
1990, yeah, in late 1995, he escaped again for 3 days before he was captured outside of the,
Again.
yeah, this time, yeah, I'm like, this hospital needs better security.
Yeah, for real.
It's all happened in the same hospital. So in late 1995, he escaped again for 3 days and he was captured outside of the Israeli consulate in New York City, where he was trying to get a visa so that he could travel to Israel.
The fuck out of there.
Yeah.
He wants
So
to get as far away as possible.
supposedly he had a son that was apparently living in Israel at the time, and his dad had roots in Israel because he had like went there and established like a group there or something. So I guess he felt like he was just trying to get out of the US. On December 8th, 1998, get this shit, he escaped again.
Oh, go figure.
Yes, but this time he didn't get too far. He was unfortunately found dead from a heart attack still on the property of the hospital. So, very sad ending for George. Yeah. But dude escaped 3 times.
Out of the three times that he escaped, you think he would have gotten away once?
Yeah, you would think. So after George was out of the picture and Vernon gained control of the property and the Branch Davidians, this is when he changed his name to the name that you all are probably more familiar with if you know anything about Waco, David Koresh.
Yep, that's the name I know.
David was after the biblical King David, the one who took down Goliath, the same one that the Davidians are named after. And Koresh was the Hebrew translation of Cyrus, the ancient Persian king who conquered Babylon and allowed the Jews to return to Israel. So his name was very rooted in the Bible. David, at some point, told his followers that he had spoken to God, and God told him that he needed to have multiple wives.
Ah.
I don't understand, like, what is with cult leaders and have wanting to have sex with everyone and have multiple wives? Like, I just don't get it.
I don't get that shit either. Like, I mean, did he speak to God when he was having the affair and he married the 14-year-old? I highly doubt it.
I have no idea. I mean, obviously, I don't feel like he spoke to God ever, but
Me either.
some of Koresh's wives were as young as 11, and he had spiritual weddings to marry them. And he supposedly fathered over a dozen children, three of which were with his actual legal
Ugh.
wife, Rachel, who was a kid when she married him.
I don't like this guy at all.
He's gross, right?
Yeah, dude, like, that's a lot of children with a lot of young children.
His I read so many reports and saw so many things that he was just such a likable guy and people just really liked him.
I
Um,
read that he was a Bible school teacher or something like that at
yeah,
one point.
I mean,
I don't even want to think about. I my brain just goes to the worst places when I like he's a creep. I don't
yeah,
even want to think about that.
yeah, it's pretty horrible. So we're not going to spend much time on that part. He was a
Yeah.
pedophile. He was gross. He was a whore. So moving on.
Okay. I'm good with that. Let's go.
Yes.
Onward.
So David's followers also believed that he had all of the answers and he had cracked the code when it came to the seven seals and the book of Revelation. So this is a big thing. So like the book of Revelations, talking about the end of the world. It's basically I'm not an expert. I'm just not. But the seven seals, leading to the end of the world, the apocalypse, only like the Lamb of God is supposed to be able to open the seven seals. And to my understanding, the Lamb of God is Jesus. But this dude's like, nah, I figured out how to crack the seven seals or something about the seven seals. And basically he's like, the end of the world's coming like right now. We need to prepare. Yeah. I don't know the entirety of it, but and I don't know if he was calling himself the Lamb of God. Like to my understanding, he was. Like he was saying like he instead of the Lamb of God being Jesus, that he was the Lamb of God and he was going to open the seven seals to pave the way for the second coming of Jesus. Like that's my
Oh,
understanding
okay.
of it. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding of it when I read through. And he explained to his followers that God wanted them to build an army of God to prepare for, the end of the world. So the Branch Davidians, already believed the end of the world was coming. So, they just were like, cool. But they believed everything David was saying and they started stockpiling weapons on their property. They even ran a business on their property called the Mag Bag, which is where they bought and sold guns and things of that nature.
The
The
mag bag.
the Mag Bag. Not really sure what that stands for.
I like magazine clip maybe.
That's what I was kind of thinking. But then like I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess
bag.
you
I don't.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. You could put the magazine clips in a bag.
Anyways,
Anyways, we get hung up on like a little stuff here.
I just thought it sounded cool. Mag bag.
It does. So they also traveled around to like gun shows and sold stuff and met people at gun shows. So, anyways, all of this caught the attention of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or ATF agents. So he was now like on their radar.
Uh-oh. Dun
Yeah,
dun dun.
yeah, for real. So in 1993, the Waco Tribune Herald began publishing The Sinful Messiah, which was a series of articles by Mark England and Darlene McCormick, who reported allegations that Crush had physically abused children in the compound and had committed statutory rape by, all of his child brides.
Underage. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Pedophile.
big time, big time pedophile. Um, because of these articles and all of the weapons that were, showing up at the property, the ATF was like, we have to act now. We have to take them down because they didn't know what they were up to, So they were like, we got to figure this shit out before, something really bad happens. But, they actually ended up causing something really bad to happen. So, anyways, this is where stuff gets a little weird, though, to me.
Yeah, it does.
The whole thing is weird because I'm not saying Waco was right because obviously David Koresh was gross and I don't get the child bride things. So to me, I feel like there was definitely some not so good stuff going on. But
Yeah, I agree. But the government needs to chill.
right, like I feel like it's just a really messed up situation. And there's something else that we're going to talk about towards the end of this. Their actions really set in motion a lot of really bad things. But anyway, we'll get
Yeah,
to
we'll get to
it.
that.
So the ATF was able to obtain a search warrant for the property and an arrest warrant for David Koresh. And the reasons listed on the warrant were that there was possible child abuse happening and there was drugs being either uh used or manufactured on the property. But this doesn't even make sense because ATF agents only handle alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. So
Yeah, so why are they getting a warrant for child abuse
yeah, like I could get like if it was like
and drugs?
yeah, if it was like the DEA or maybe even the FBI or
Yeah.
uh child crime unit or
That was
something.
their loophole. That was their
Yeah,
loophole.
but I don't even understand how like the government allowed it. But I mean, I guess they're part of the government, so they just do whatever they want. I don't know. But apparently the media was tipped off as well, I'm assuming, by the ATF because who else would know about the raid, other than
Exactly.
the
The people
agents
who were doing
doing
it.
it? Yeah. And it seems like that's something that you would want to, keep quiet, but instead somebody like let the media know so that they were there that day to cover everything.
Someone let it slip. Yeah.
Yeah. But whoever tipped off the media,
Someone wanted this known.
yeah. And whoever tipped off the media, whoever that was that wanted it known, royally fucked up because February 28th, 1993, the day the raid was supposed to go down, David's brother was in town and he just happened to run into this reporter who was asking for directions to the compound so they could cover the raid.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he was like, why the heck do you want to know how to get there? The reporter was like, I got to cover this raid that's about to go down at the property. And so, yeah, long story short, he let his brother, David, know what was going on. So they were ready. The Branch Davidians were ready when the ATF showed up.
Little heads up.
Dumb media people. I say that because I worked in the media.
Can't keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever told someone why I was going there, just some random civilian.
Yeah. No.
But, anyways, so by the time like the ATF people roll up, the media is already there covering it, cameras rolling, and the Branch Davidians and the ATF agents had gunfire going almost immediately between them, even though it was documented on camera. Yeah, no one really knows who fired first.
That's weird.
I don't know. I don't know who I believe because the Branch Davidians say that the Branch
Because they
Davidians,
had a heads up. They knew they were looking for them. So
yeah,
what if they saw ATF pull up and they're like, fuck this, we're not giving them a chance to shoot, we shoot.
Yeah.
Or it was the other way around. ATF's like, oh, they don't know we're coming. We just need to blast their ass real quick.
Yeah. And I can see it either way. I can almost see the ATF people firing second because I could see the Branch Davidians like, okay, they're coming for us. Let's just automatically start shooting, like you said. And then the ATF happen to defend themselves. But I
No
don't
one will
know.
know
Yeah.
ever, even though it's on footage.
I know
No
that's
one
the
will know.
crazy part. So after about an hour, hour and a half of full-on gun battle, this time not like the Old West, but more like full-on war. Four ATF
Yeah, the
eight,
mag bag.
yeah, they emptied out the mag bag.
Yeah, they're stocked up.
Yeah. So four ATF agents and six Branch Davidians were dead, and many more were injured, including David, who was apparently shot in the side.
Rough.
Yeah. So because the ATF people, already messed up the whole raid, the FBI was brought in. So another government agent comes in to take over and start negotiations to calm the situation down. But the situation ends up turning into a 51-day standoff. 51
Damn it,
days.
FBI.
And
Way to calm down the situation.
what did you negotiate there?
More war.
So, at one point during the standoff, David agreed to surrender to the FBI if they sent out this hour-long broadcast to like radio stations everywhere of him talking about what he and the Branch Davidians believed in. So the FBI agreed, but David did not surrender.
What?
Yeah, so the FBI did their part. They sent out this little broadcast, the radio stations played it or whatever, and then they waited. They're like, okay, he's gonna come out now. Nope. And apparently he was asked at some point why, he didn't come out. And he said, God told him to wait.
He was just too scared. He didn't want to go to jail yet.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this
Yeah.
this guy, I feel like anytime he wants to do something, he's just like, God told me to do this.
He's obviously a manipulator.
Yes. The FBI actually would shine bright lights into the compound and they cut off water, electricity, and they blared music all in an effort to try to get them to surrender. Well, another thing that they would blare besides like music was some of the recordings. They would record every conversation like the FBI and David were having like on the phone, like negotiating. And I guess, they played it over a loudspeaker so the Branch Davidians would hear it and see how much of a manipulator he was. Because I guess I didn't listen to
Wow.
the conversations, but I'm guessing he said some pretty messed up stuff or stuff that would have been concerning to them that they wanted them to hear. So David, he also released people from the compound, like some supposedly left willingly, probably after they heard those recordings. And he released some people in exchange for food and supplies. But the FBI, they were sneaky. They were sneaky, sneaky. And they put
Sneaky
mics
fast.
and they put mics in all the stuff that they sent into the Branch Davidians. So they were listening in on like all their conversations in case like they decided to attack them, they wanted to have the upper hand. So after 51 days, can't believe it took that long. They decided this has gone on long enough. They decided to flood the compound with tear gas. Okay. So while they were doing this, like right when they were inserting the tear gas canisters, basically a fire broke out. And
Oh shit.
yeah, so no one immediately came out, like no one ever like came running out of the compound or anything. And like the fire just engulfed the whole place like pretty quickly. I mean, it was fast. It was big, it was
Well,
massive.
that's sus.
Exactly. So like because it happened right when the like agents were putting in the tear gas, um it is suspicious that maybe they somehow started the fire. and thought maybe that the people would come running out.
It's possible.
Yeah. But you also found something in your research where you said you heard someone heard someone talking. Like what was that about?
So I was watching a YouTube video while doing research for Waco, and there was a sole survivor from Australia. I remember hearing right before the fire had started, some of the Branch Davidians had heard two men upstairs talking or a loud bang, and then shortly after the fire happened. So some people believe that someone on the inside could have started.
I don't know if the Branch Davidians would have started it, but I could see David Koresh maybe starting it because he
I
was
could
like,
too.
yeah, because he was probably
He's
like,
selfish.
yeah, and he was probably like, we're just not going out like this, like they're not gonna get us alive or whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't think the Branch Davidians would have wanted to die like that in a fire, but
Yeah, being burned alive does not sound fun.
no, but no one really knows what exactly caused the fire or who exactly caused the fire, if it was government agents or if it was possibly David Koresh or the Branch Davidians themselves. But
Or a mix of both.
or
Who
a mix
knows?
of both. It could have just been a lethal combination of like the tear gas and whatever they were doing at the time, and it was complete accident. Who knows? The theory, though, that maybe David started it is interesting because, which I'll bring that up in a second. So, regardless, on April 19th, 1993, the 51-day standoff ended. Everyone left inside the compound died. Over 70 people. When
That's
the
awful. That's a lot of people.
It is, it's so sad, and so many of them. I think it was like what 25 children and two pregnant women.
I think possibly. I
Yeah,
read that in one of the articles.
yeah, there's so many like conflicting things. I even read something about like, the number I say over 70 people because some were like 75 people. I read 80 people because when they recovered the bodies, some of the bodies were so burnt and like they couldn't really determine exactly how many.
Wow, that's awful. I can't, that would be an awful way to die being burned alive.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So when the bodies were recovered, it was also found that several of them, including Koresh, had fatal gunshot wounds to like the head and other parts of the body. Koresh had a fatal gunshot wound straight to the forehead. So I wonder if, it's possible that maybe he started the fire or the government started the fire and he was like, but I'm not going to be burned alive, so shoot me because they're not getting me alive regardless. He was
Yeah,
like, I'm not going
e-
out that way.
exactly. I mean, this sounds morbid, but I would probably rather want to shoot myself than be burned alive.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
And then I wonder if like he shot himself or if he made someone else do it.
No one will ever know.
No, there's so many like so much speculation um back and forth. Was it the Branch Davidians? Was it David Koresh? Was it the government? Like no one
ATF,
really knows. Yeah.
FBI.
Yeah. No one really knows. The whole situation was just completely messed up. Um and
I
another
still can't believe the mag bag. I just think maybe the tear gas and like gunfire hit like their mag bag supply shop
Yeah, and it
and
could have
like
just been a complete
exploded.
accident. Yeah. Like just bad
But
bad
then that
aim.
doesn't explain like the gunshot to the head unless like he saw the fire and he was like, nope, boom,
Yeah.
bang, done.
And knew like there's no way to stop it because it was like engulfing the property so fast, probably also because
And
they have ammo and
maybe
everything.
maybe he also told everyone like, do not run out, to stay in. And if
Hmm.
you believe in what we like, yeah, the whole religion
And maybe he was shooting, maybe he shot some of the people that tried to
people,
leave
yeah,
and then shot himself. I don't know. You could
yeah.
speculate for days on this. It's crazy situation. But one thing that really got me when I was reading was that there was a 3-year-old. So like several people had gunshot wounds, but there was this 3-year-old boy who had multiple stab wounds to the chest. Like, why?
Yeah, who would do that? For
Like,
what reason?
I mean, it just made no sense to me. I'm like, what the heck happened there?
Poor little babe.
Yeah. So if this situation wasn't already messed up enough, so 2 years later, exactly 2 years later, on April 19th, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing happened, killing 168 people, 19 of whom were children who were in the building's daycare center at the time of the blast. The bombing was carried out by Timothy McVeigh, a former U.S. Army soldier, and his associate Terry Nichols. McVeigh had planned the attack on, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, the Murat building, which housed regional offices like offices for federal agencies such as the DEA, the ATF. Yeah, so that the ATF, which is the agency that launched the initial raid on the Branch Davidian compound and kind of screwed things up, uh, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were apparently not happy with the way that, Waco happened, amongst other things. It wasn't just Waco, but like from my understanding, they were actually there when all this was going down. Like they were kind of standing back where the media was and the crowds were gathering.
At
And
Waco?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So they kind of got a firsthand encounter. And so I guess they thought it was handled really bad. But, anyways, I mean, they had a lot of other reasons. It wasn't just what happened at Waco. Um, but, anyways, Waco kind of pissed them off. Obviously,
I would say.
yeah. So this whole messed up situation kind of ended up, unfortunately, leading to the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed even more people. And, they planned it on the anniversary of when the siege ended, April 19th. So the siege at Waco ended on April 19th, 1993. The Oklahoma City bombing happened April 19th, 1995. So, they were trying to send a message there just with the date alone.
Oh, totally. Like, yeah. 2 year anniversary, they're definitely saying, hey, what's up?
Hmm.
Remember this?
And they targeted those specific offices,
Oh, yeah. So it was very deliberate.
which I love to do an episode and like find out more because I don't know all the like little details on the Oklahoma City bombing because we were like, what, I was like 4, you were like 3 when this
Yeah.
happened.
We were
Um,
babies.
yeah, so
I didn't even know about it until you brought it up. So I would be down to do an episode.
yeah, I really want to research that more. But today, going back to Waco, the site of the compound was eventually bulldozed, and there's a new church there now today. And a small group of the Branch Davidians still live and worship at Mount Carmel, um, in the new church that they built. So they are now called the Branch, the Lord our Righteousness. So another new name.
What?
Yeah. So
Okay, they need to
so many different
chill. They need to
versions.
chill, dog. Like, okay, they've branched different like prophets and leaders, and then different. Oh, I can't. It's too much. My brain hurts from just like trying to keep up with the story.
Right? So I feel like they changed their name because they didn't want to be associated with David Koresh because
Yeah.
they claim that David Koresh twisted by, the biblical teachings, and they don't seem to really agree with him. So that's I get why they might have changed
I
their
can
name.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still like so many different
Just leave
versions.
it. That's the
Yeah,
last one.
yeah.
Don't change it again.
And there are still Branch Davidians all around the world who
No way.
yeah, because I mean like it was worldwide. It wasn't just Waco, but there was just
That's
only
crazy.
yeah, there was only certain people that lived at Waco, but yeah, I mean they were sending their message worldwide. So there's still Branch Davidians that and there's some who are more like, the new branch, the Lord our righteousness, but there's some that still kind of believe in David Koresh's teaching. So the name of this episode is The Wacko from Waco, which
The
now
Wacko
yeah,
from Waco.
now
But
we're
it wasn't Wake. It wasn't in Waco, man.
yeah. So now we're going back. So remember when I said to remember the place called Elk, Texas? So Elk is actually where the compound was. So it was really close to Waco, like just a few miles from Waco, but it was in Elk, Texas. So the media said, think about it, the Wacko from Elk or the Wacko from Waco. So it had more of
Yeah.
a ring to it for their headlines. So there you go. The
It fits a
media,
lot better.
it does. The media coined that. So,
And now there's like movies and like mini series and
oh yeah, there's one on
oh
Paramount that I really want to watch. It's like a mini series about this. Um, but I haven't checked it out yet, but I definitely want to.
yeah, we will soon. We had a busy weekend, so maybe this coming weekend,
Yeah, I have
next
to work
weekend.
all
I don't
weekend.
know.
But then after that, yes, you can
Yeah,
check it out.
after that.
Because I have Paramount Plus and I didn't even know that it was on there until I was doing research for this. I was like, oh snap.
Yeah, and the movie is on Amazon and Hulu, but I think on Amazon Prime you have to rent it.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
might rent
sure.
it and watch it.
Yeah. Do you have Hulu? Is it free on Hulu or do you have to rent it?
I haven't checked. I just checked on Amazon because I was like, I know I have Amazon. I'll check.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But yeah, we
yeah.
did the damn thing.
Yeah, we
Woohoo!
did it again. Episode 4. And I just want to
That's a whole
apologize.
month. That's a whole
Yeah,
month.
I just want to apologize too because we've been having some sound issues and some te
And some hosting issues. Are we still
yeah.
dealing with Pandora?
Yeah. Well, I think Pandora, I think it's fixed now. It's just the first episode was a little glitchy.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, we did figure that out.
yeah, but we're still working through some issues, so just stick with us. We will get better because we've already
But we do
gotten,
appreciate it.
yes.
Thanks for listening. It's been real.
It's been real. All right. Well, until next time, keep it spooky.
Catch y'all next Friday.
Yeah. Peace.